Hi, this is Tommy Newberry. In today's show, in this episode of Achieving Optimal, I want to focus on focus. In fact, that is what we're going to cover in this episode, is a simple process for staying focused better than you ever have been before. And I want to give you a very simple process because I think that will encourage you to follow through. Focus is, of course, essential to success. In fact, if you had to use the fewest number of words to explain success, I think you might say focus equals success. You might say goals equal success, but what do you have to do with your goals? You have to focus on your goals. And the flip side of this, which is very important to consider as well, is what is failure? Why does failure occur? And I believe that failure occurs primarily, again, if you break it down to the irreducible minimum, failure occurs because of lack of focus or diffusion of effort, meaning you've spread your attention across too many things. One of the things I've observed in the last almost 3 decades of coaching is that, and this is kind of a metaphor, but you can be born with a talent, like A is like a letter grade in school. You can be born with a talent or A plus talent. And what often happens, not always, but what often happens when you're so naturally strong, there is a tendency to rest on your laurels or to get a little bit lazy or a little bit sloppy, or, and this is very tempting, to take on too many things. Because if you're so talented and people recognize that, they're going to come to you and ask you to participate in this and you to participate in that. And will you take on this project? And will you be in charge of this team and so forth? And so it feels really good to say yes to all of those invitations, which are really compliments. But often what happens is somebody who has the A talent or A plus talent, they spread themselves too thin, they lose their focus, and then their letter grade drops down in the B range. Still pretty good, but they're not good stewards of their potential if they allow themselves to be spread too thin. They have too many things on their plate. Now the other side, maybe you're born with B talent or B plus talent, and so you realize there are a lot of people out there that are better than you naturally. So what you have to do is you have to have this inner drive to work harder and smarter than those folks. And so one of your strategies is, you can't be all things to all people. You can't say yes too often. You can't have too many things on your plate. So you decide you're going to focus on the few things that make a big difference. And what can happen is, with this hyper focus, particularly on a few things that really, really matter, you can elevate yourself, you can promote yourself up into the A range. Now, the best of all worlds would be to be born with A talent and then to also leverage the dynamic of focus to your benefit. That would be best of all. So in the show, the rest of the show, I want to give you 3 things. I think they're real simple to do. I'm going to give them to you right now, and then I'm going to give you a little more information on how to execute those as we go. Number 1, to get into the state of hyper-focus, I want you to review your top 5 goals every morning. I want you to debrief every evening, daily, so debrief, and then I want you to ask this question: what's important now? W-I-N. So let's go to the goals first, because without goals you can't be focused. You just can't. So goals equal focus, focus equals success. So before you can review your top 5 goals daily, and I want you to do it first thing in the morning, but before you can review your top 5 goals first thing in the morning, you've got to have top 5 goals. And you'll be surprised at how many people who are very successful are still kind of winging it. And they're scattered, and their frustration is that they're never finished with things, and that there's all these incompletions, and they kind of have goals, they have direction, but they don't have clear specific goals. So I want you to have 5 goals. You could have as few as 3, but no more than 5. If you want to stay really focused, I want you to have 5 goals. I've worked with thousands of individuals over the last 30 years, and 5 goals is really a sweet spot. If you're in need of making a lot of progress quickly in a certain area of life, then maybe you drop down to 3 goals. But again, it's all about focus. In some cases with clients who are maybe in a crisis of some sort, or maybe they have to take advantage of a particular opportunity, I bring them down to just one goal. And so for a quarter or 6 months, we focus just on one goal. It is amazing. It will shock and surprise you what you can get accomplished when you work on the skill of focus. But let's assume you're going to go with the more balanced whole life approach with 5 goals. Maybe your first goal is your financial goal. Maybe it's your faith and spiritual goal. But I'll go through them like this. You should have a faith and spiritual goal. If you're married, you have a husband or wife goal. If you've got kids, you'll have a mom or a dad goal. You'll have a fitness goal and a business goal. You can put them in any order you want. I like laying mine out with the spiritual first and kind of going down in the order of what I think my values in life ought to be. You might not like that approach. Maybe you want to go with the 5 F's. Faith, family, friends, fitness, and finances. That's another good way to do it as well. So once you have your 5 goals determined and you know that's exactly what I want you to get up every morning and one of the first things you do, maybe with a cup of coffee in front of you or a tall glass of pure, clear water, you get ready, get focused, and you look at those goals. You review them, you think about them, you ponder them, you think, what could you do today to move closer to them? You look at the goals and you think, could I rewrite them or fine tune them? Is this exactly what I'm going after? Is this goal accurate? Could I change anything about it? You just kind of ponder the goal, think about it. Here's what you really ought to do. Rewrite those top 5 goals. You could keystroke them if you want. That's fine, that's good. But if you rewrite them, what it's going to do is it's going to make you sensitive. It's going to make you aware of the people, the circumstances, the resources, the ideas in your environment, in your surroundings. You'll just notice these things because you've rewritten these goals. So it's kind of like push-ups for focus. Rewriting your goals is kind of like push-ups for your focus. There's no great, amazing breakthrough when you rewrite your top 5 goals, but you've rewritten them, and because you've rewritten them, particularly first thing in the morning when your mind is clear, an amazing thing happens. Your vision changes for the rest of the day. Your awareness changes, and that's hugely important. All right, then the next thing I might do is you've got the goals written, pray about them, okay? Brainstorm about them. What are 21 things I could do to reach goal number 1? What are 21 things I could do to reach this goal? Maybe not do the same exercise every day for each goal, but maybe you pick one goal on Monday, one goal on Tuesday, and you could do the brainstorming assessment every day of the week for a different goal. You don't always have to use 21 or something like that. You could do 7. What are 7 things I haven't done yet that might help me reach goal number 2 or goal number 4? Another thing you could do is visualize. Doesn't have to be a crazy type of thing. Just imagine how great it would be if your goal had already been accomplished. Imagine the moment that you achieved the goal. What is that exact moment where you could claim victory? Just get the feeling, visualize and internalize what that would be like. And then another great thing to do, I've really worked on this the last few years, is practice, and keyword practice advanced gratitude. Practice being grateful and thankful in advance of actually having reached the top of the mountain or made that big sale or hit your revenue numbers or gotten that relationship where you want it to be. Just pretend mentally, because see, your whole life follows your thoughts. So by being grateful in advance, you move the ball forward toward what you really want. So that's the first thing. If you want to get hyper-focused, have 5 goals, rewrite them every morning, visualize them, pray about them, and be grateful for them even before you've reached them. Next, you've gone through your day and we need to debrief it, or we need to assess it. So number 2 is a daily debrief. This is a quick assessment for the purpose of rapid feedback. In other words, I don't want you, if I'm coaching you, which is what I'm doing right now, if I'm coaching you, I don't want you to go a week or a month or a quarter or half a year without correcting a poor strategy or a non-working method or approach that you're using. I want you to evaluate daily, And if you do this daily, you get really, really good at doing it. I want you to evaluate whether or not what you're doing and your approach is working or it's not working. And you don't need to beat up on yourself, but ask these 3 questions. What went well? What went according to the plan? What did I accomplish that I intended to accomplish today? What didn't I accomplish? So what didn't work? So the first one is what went well. So that's the positive column. And then maybe you add a follow-on to that. How could I make that go better tomorrow or next time? And then what didn't work? All right, that's very key. Again, don't beat up on yourself. Just get clear what didn't work like you intended. Did a meeting not go as you intended? Did you squander how you used your time? Did you not get your workout in? Did you break your nutrition plan? Did the proposal not get finished? What didn't work? And then third, this is what you would do in the daily debrief, is before you go to bed, maybe you do this before you leave the office or you just kind of shut down for the day, or you could do it literally, 15, 20 minutes before you go to bed. Prioritize the next day. I was working with a client last week and he showed me, I said, show me your priorities for the day. And he showed me 3 pieces of paper. And I mean, they weren't quite 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper, but they were pretty big sheets of paper, and they were filled up completely. I mean, there must have been 50, 60 items on these 3 sheets of paper. And that was really what was on the kind of ongoing running to-do list for the day. And of course, you can't get those things done in a day, and it's very distracting, and it's overwhelming because every time you look at your to-do list, you kind of scan them and you see all the things that haven't been done yet, and it's a bit overwhelming. And so what we want you to do is make that long list. I love the long list. Get everything out of your head. It's therapeutic. It's cathartic to do that. But after you've made that super long list, you rescan the list and you identify what are the 3 most important things that must be done tomorrow or that will be most impactful for you to do tomorrow, and circle those. And then what I would do is I would extract them from those lists and I'd put them on a separate document. You could do this in Evernote, you could do it in whatever program you're using, or you could do it by hand, but have a separate document that has the top 3. And do not, are you listening to this? This is really key. Do not look at the long list, the longer list with all the different things on it. Only focus on the top 3. Literally, how this would look is you would look at your priorities for the day and there would be the top 3. There would be 3 things on a sheet of paper, 3 things in a document. And then underneath that, or in a separate document, would be all the other things. And the philosophy behind this is for the purpose of focus and to avoid distractions. But it's really powerful because you see the top 3, and the thinking with this is, if you don't get done with the top 3, and those are the most important things, why in the world should you ever have dabbled in all the other items? But prioritization precedes focus. Make that a note. Take that note, write it down. Prioritization precedes focus. All right, and then the next thing you can do, this is really simple. It's so simple, I'm almost embarrassed to tell you about it because it's that simple, and I have found that most people skip it because it's so simple. But if you use it, it will change how your days look, and if you change your days, it changes the rest of your life one day at a time. And this is what I want you to do. Ask what's important now. Ask it all day long. Ask it several times an hour. What's important now? The longer version of this is very important as well. What's the most valuable use of my time right now? But what I like about what's important now is it's a short little acronym. It spells win. You will win. You will win the moment. You will win the moment if you are constantly asking, what's important now? What's important now? What's important now? What's the most valuable use of my time right now? So ask and re-ask this of yourself. Push for the true answer. And by true, I mean the real answer, the answer that is in alignment with your top 5 goals. What'll happen is, if you're not used to doing this already, is you'll go with a default answer or the obvious answer or the superficial answer, but that's not often the real answer. I want to know what is truly the most valuable use of your time right now. So you have to push yourself. And so often you'll get the first answer, and then maybe the second answer will be a little bit closer to the bullseye. Then you get the third answer. And the third answer is exactly what you should be doing. And when it's something different than what you're doing, which will be often, You discipline yourself to put the other tasks down, and then you move on to what's the most valuable use of your time right now, what's important now. Develop an appetite for coming up with the optimal answer to what's important now. Not the okay answer, not a decent answer, not a good answer. What's the optimal answer? And by the way, consider all areas of life with this answer, because it could be 6 p.m. in the evening and you ask yourself, what's important now? And the answer, the obvious answer is, I should go home and be with the family. Well, maybe you should. Maybe you should go do a workout. But maybe, given what's at stake with the deal that you're working on or the proposal that you're trying to finish, maybe the most valuable use of your time is to finish that proposal or stay at work another hour. But to the flip side of that, the other side of thinking through that is it could be 1 in the afternoon and you're kind of stuck and you ask yourself, what's important now? What's important now? What's the most valuable use of my time right now? And you decide, you know what? I need to go take a walk. I need to go get a workout in. I need to go take a nap. I need to call it a day. So don't bias yourself. Don't stick to traditions and typical answers. Push for optimal. Consider all areas of life with your answer, because sometimes you'll need to catch up with some work during your personal time. And sometimes you'll need to take personal time and address your spiritual life or your physical life or your marriage life when you're in the middle of the workday. So to help you with these priorities, think back. Hopefully this is a think back for you. If not, you should read or listen to or find a condensation of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, or First Things First, the 2 great classic books from Stephen Covey, where he talks about the 4 quadrants of time and how you use your time. Quadrant 1 is in the upper left-hand side of the square, and it's urgent and important. And these things are pretty, these are always things you have to do. It's just not where you want to operate most of your time, because if it's urgent and important, then most likely at one point it was important but not urgent, and then you postponed it, and now it's urgent and important, so it forces your day. You have to do it. You're the servant. You've got to take action on this because now it's urgent and important. So if you're there, you got to do those things. But Quadrant 2, which is in the upper right-hand side, is the important, non-urgent. This includes some things that will have a big payday for you down the road. This might include things that are relational in nature, that you've got to plant seeds and nothing happens in the short term, so it's real easy to procrastinate. This can include your health and fitness and exercising and diet. It could include your savings. It could include your spiritual life. Because if you neglect it today, there's no dire circumstances tomorrow, but you can't permanently do that. You can't put that off indefinitely. Then there's Quadrant 3, and Quadrant 3 is the bottom left, and this is really other people's urgent stuff. It's when they call you, they text you, they email you, they walk in your office and they say, you need to do this, or they just ask questions, or they interrupt you from your maybe Quadrant 2 or Quadrant 1 priorities. So you got to be very careful about that. Another type of activity that falls in Quadrant 3 is things that you are pretending are really important because they're easy for you to do. We've all done this, and they don't really belong there. And if you ask yourself what's important now, what's the most valuable use of my time, then it'll start to reveal that to you, or you'll learn that and understand that. But pretend important things, those are Quadrant 3. We want to stay away from them. The worst of all is the bottom right, and that's Quadrant 4. These are escapist activities. These are activities that just kind of keep you steady, keep the status quo going. Time wasters, escaping, just mindless work, looking through TV or surfing, the internet, or watching TV over and over and over again. Things that don't move any part of your life forward, you're totally escaping. A little bit of that is okay, but you need to have boundaries with that and be intentional with it. So develop your daily priorities with this in mind. When you ask the question, what's important now? Ask it with these Covey quadrants in mind. So quick recap. This lesson, this episode today is all about focus. The key to success is focus. The key to failure is lack of focus or diffusion of effort, where you spread yourself too thin in order to develop this simple focus. Make sure you have top 5 goals and that you review them in the AM. Debrief daily. In other words, assess your day, and then constantly, repeatedly, at home and at work, ask, what's important now? What's important now? This is very key to your success, to stay focused. And if you stay focused, you're going to be more successful. And your success blesses others. And focus is what makes it happen.